Hey, what's up, shitheads? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to be checking out the all-new 72-volt mini goat you see here. Now, this thing is bad to the bone. Puts out 3,000 watts nominal, 4,500 watt peak, direct drive motor. They claim top speeds of up to 55 miles an hour. This bike starts at $29.99 for the 30 amp hour version, $32.50 for the 40 amp hour version, or $34.99 for the 50 amp hour version you see here. But fear not, you can save yourself 5% off that order by using coupon code SHOOTTHECHIT. But guys, before you just go off buying one immediately just based off that intro, what do you say we go over all the specs and features of this bike and, do the most important thing, which is take it for a ride. But anyways, guys, without further ado, what do you say we go ahead and get started? Here we are, a closer look at the mini goat. Now, I have to say, I had some reservations about this bike before I got it. I just didn't really see what the purpose of a smaller version of the goat was, but now that I have it, I've been having a ton of fun on it. And when I showed up here to my friend's house in Nevada, this thing got a ton of attention. Everyone was looking at it, asking all sorts of questions. And you know what? It looks small. I mean, it is small, but it's very approachable. It's very easy to just come up, get on this bike, and then start ripping. And another thing is, as we're starting to see the evolution of these e-bikes, the initial quality, just walking around and looking at this, I can tell the quality has increased between the motor goat and the mini goat. So far, this bike feels absolutely rock solid. I've ridden it about 40 plus miles now, had a ton of fun on it. It's a real blast to ride. So the star of the show here, this is the 72 volt direct drive motor, 3,000 watts nominal, 4,500 watts peak rating. The nice thing about these direct drive motors is once you give them power, they just keep wanting to spin and spin and spin. The downside is they're not as torquey as a geared hub motor, but these are fun to ride and very smooth operation, and it gets going really fast. This bike will cruise at speeds that other bikes have a hard time getting to just briefly. You can see here, this is a single speed. It's got a tensioner on the back because this is a rear suspension bike. So you have to have a tensioner so it won't break the chain. Pedaling on this bike is a funny experience because you look at these crank arms, they're cute. They're cute little guys, they're tiny. You start ghost pedaling on this bike at like 15 miles an hour. This is just here for show. Don't plan on getting any significant pedaling on this bike. So we have these 12-inch mag wheels, front and rear. The front is a 3.5 by 12 and the rear is a 4.5 by 12. And these are Innovo motocross tires. Now these definitely feel more like an actual motorcycle tire. They're very thick. I rode it earlier. I actually went through a bunch of goat heads and I feel like none of them penetrated the actual tire. Got metal fenders, front and rear. The rear shock is a dual fast ace, which means it's oil and spring. And it says here 1,000-pound spring. I was actually expecting this to bottom out. I bottomed out a lot in the MotorGoat V3. This so far, I haven't bottomed out at all. Here we have these Trauma front forks. These are dual crown. Your compression adjustment there. On the right stanchion, you can go open compression or lockout. I noticed with my body weight, I did have to turn the compression almost all the way to the max because you see here, the front fender can hit this when you hit bumps, and I noticed it was clunking around. It's got a through axle here, pinch bolts. These are like motocross style. Get a closer look at the front mag wheel. You can see it's a bit dirty, guys, because you know what? I've been riding the heck out of this thing. 4-piston Karasawa hydraulic disc brakes. Now these things feel very strong. This is one of the most significant upgrades I can notice right off the bat between this bike and the MotorGoat V3. These brake rotors, it's a 180 millimeter in the front, 203 in the rear. However, this feels like a very solid, nice, thick rotor. These brakes feel very nice. Gives you a nice look at these handles here. These are some nice, solid brakes. Another thing that stuck out right away is this seat feels like a much nicer quality seat than I was on the MotorGoat. The MotorGoat, it's fine. I haven't ripped mine or anything, but it feels more like a vinyl seat. This one, the diamond pleating on this is much thicker. Overall, this is just a very good quality feeling seat. I like it a lot so far. It's got your cute little kickstand here. This bike uses a frame gap battery. I opted for the 50 amp hour. It fills up the entire gap. It ships separately because it's too heavy to ship all together. Here's the charge port. There was a rubber cover on this. However, I already broke mine off. This bike comes with a 5 amp charger. This is a 50 amp hour battery, 5 amp charger. It's going to take 10 hours to charge this. I have a 50 amp hour battery in my MotorGoat, and that has an 11 amp charger, which charges it in, just under 5 hours. So I feel like they could have added a bigger, faster charger for the 50 amp hour version. I claim that they say on the site this weighs 130 pounds, and it feels like it. This is not a light bike. I have to drag this thing up and down the stairs, and it's not fun. However, it is doable. It's one of the things I really like about this mini goat. You look at it, look how small it is, but no, this is how easy it is to get on this bike and just go. The small form factor is great for a lot of things, guys. Don't get this bike if you plan on doing, hardcore off-roading, but as you'll see in today's video, I do some off-roading on this bike. I'm 6'2". I actually feel like when I ride this is fine because I'm not pedaling much. Here's what the pedal stroke looks like. It's tiny. These pedals they're a gimmick. These pedals are here, in my opinion, solely to make this bike legal to ride around, or to give you a clear conscience while you ride it around. So here's what I look like on the mini goat, and I honestly feel I rode this quite a bit and I wasn't really uncomfortable. The upper body portion's fine. It's just that your legs are going to be in this position when you're riding. Up here to the cockpit. This has almost an identical cockpit to the Motor Goat V3. You have your plastic rubberized grips here on both sides, full twist throttle, key ignition here, your headlight switch, turn signals, horn, hazard switch, hydraulic disc brake handles here, pedal assist selector, and the power button. To turn on the mini goat, turn it over to the right. That turns on the battery, and then what you do here is you just press the power button for a second, and that turns on your mini goat. Here you have your nice color LCD display, same exact display that's on the Motor Goat. And you're going to toggle. By default, this bike is set up with 3 levels of pedal assist, and it ships to you in class 2 or 3 operation, meaning you're going to have to go in here and up the speed. I'll show you how to do that in just a second. If you want to up and down your pedal assist, you press the plus or minus buttons here, and you have 3 to choose from. Your display gives you your basic information, battery percentage, voltage, which is nice. I like to see the voltage, speedometer. This is your watt meter, shows you how much power it's putting out. Here's your odometer, tripometer, pedal assist, and your average speed indicator. So when you get this bike, it's going to be in class 2 or 3 operation. You can hold the plus and minus buttons for a second, and that will get you into your menu here. To turn up the speed, you're going to have to go into the speed menu, and the default password is 0, 0, 0, 0. Hey, but don't tell anyone I told you that. And you go in here and you can change your speed limit, and I turned mine all the way up to 63. And the nice thing about this bike is when you use your turn signals, there's actually indicators on the bike, on the display, to show you if the turn signals are on. This is the first e-bike I've seen that actually shows you on the display. So you're not out there on the trail riding around with your turn signals on for mile after mile, annoying everybody around you. Turn on and off the headlights, you switch the switch right here, and you'll see Mini Goat has a nice big headlight. You have it on the low setting, it's the low beam. In the middle is just the running lights. High setting is going to be the high beam here. Here's what the turn signals look like when you use them. And as well as having indicators in the front, there's also turn signals here in the rear. And when you use your hazards, it will flash all 4 of your lights, just giving you that much more safety. Any bike I have, this bike freewheels the absolute fastest. Here we are in pedal assist 3. Look how fast that tire is moving. Speedometer is saying 77 on a brand new fully charged battery. It'll freewheel up to 82 miles an hour, and you can actually feel it when you're close. That motor is spinning. And just listen how quiet that is. All right, guys, that's all the specs and features of the Mini Goat. What do you say we do the fun part now and take it out for a ride? Come on, let's go. Look how easy that is. Riding on the Mini Goat in the middle of Nevada. Probably not the best use case for this bike, but you know what? We're gonna ride this wherever we want. This thing gets really smooth. I noticed when you first give it throttle, it makes like the direct drive motor noise. If you've ridden a regular Goat, you know what I mean? Has a distinct noise to it. But once you get going, you build up some miles per hour, this thing just feels really smooth. Let's see how fast we can get going on here. We're at 30. 40. 45. 46. 47. 48. 50. And tuck a little bit. 51. 52. 53. All right. Man, these brakes on this bike are no joke. So it looks like we got up to 53 on the speedometer. I'll have to double check what it says on the Draggy here. One thing I am noticing though, this throttle is kind of just on or off. You can see the watt gauge there. I'm easing the throttle in, and as soon as it hits, it's just 4,000 watts. So throttle mapping is not the smoothest on here, that's for sure. This thing's a little pit bike, a little rocket ship, and I'm noticing it's very stable. For the size factor, it's like it's low, you're small to the ground. Pedaling is like completely useless on here. You feel like those cartoons when they run and they're meep, meep. Feet start kicking up all the smoke when they start running. That's how you feel pedaling on here. You start ghost pedaling at like 10 miles an hour. So yeah, don't get this bike thinking you're going to be pedaling much. And I'm surprised with the suspension not having much travel. It is stiff, and if you loosen up the front, I can hear the front hitting the fender, but it feels fine. It's kind of surprising me how well the suspension works on this little bike. This is a little Ripper. I really like this bike. This is a cool little bike. And the nice thing is, I was actually able to put this thing in the back seat of my truck. So I didn't have to put it in the bed of the truck. I didn't have to put it on a carrier. I managed to fit it in the back seat of my truck, which was really nice. You can see this is what we look like on here, 6'2". This suspension does a very good job of taking the bumps out of the road. It's not the best. You don't have a ton of travel on the suspension. However, it works well for what it is. I'm actually very shocked at how well the suspension works. I was expecting it to be clunky, bang all around, but it's actually a very smooth, nice suspension. I like it. Check out the pedaling. Pedaling does nothing, which is kind of funny because they say this bike can get a range of 50 miles throttle only, or about 90 miles with pedal assist. And the funny thing is I don't think you're going to be doing any significant pedaling with these pedals. For what this bike is, it's a great little package. I mean, tons of range. You're gonna be able to get a lot of range on here. At some point, I will do a range test. Today is not gonna be that day. But it's small, it's approachable. Shorter riders can ride this. It's fast. This is a fun little bike. It feels funny riding something so small. So guys, if you wanna get a mini goat ride through the absolute middle of nowhere, I mean, yes, I guess you can do it. However, I personally wouldn't recommend riding like this. But guys, that's what I'm here for. So what did we just learn? Probably not the best to ride through a field of shrubs on your mini goat, but you know what? I did it. I'm alive, and my shins, my ankles got a little scratched up in the process, but you know what? I'm still here to tell the tale. It's doing pretty good on this gravel. I actually see a little bike like this being a great option for commuting. Seems pretty stable. No shake in the handlebars. It's silly. It just feels funny riding this, but it doesn't feel bad. I would not want to pedal this, obviously. This is basically a little motorcycle. Pedals are probably there just for, you know, legality's sake, but this is comfortable. I mean, it's a comfortable bike to get on and rip around on. Go for the pass here. Woo! The thing I noticed about these direct drive motors, while other bikes, e-bikes can go 30 to 40, these things can just stay at 30 and 40. It's like cruising speeds. It doesn't feel like you're taxing it at all. This thing doesn't feel like it starts to get its legs under it until you're like going into the 20s. So we know this is a fairly bumpy little path right here. We're going 35 and it's not bad at all. I feel the bumps, but the suspension on this bike feels pretty quality for what it is, even though it may not have the most travel. So yeah, this thing zips right along, feels nice and stable, surprisingly stable. My first concern when looking at this bike, I was like, great, I'm gonna go 50 miles an hour on basically a kid's toy, but it has a long enough wheelbase and the suspension is good enough and it's heavy enough where this thing actually feels pretty dang stable going fast. I haven't felt sketched out by this at all. I do think the throttle tuning can be mapped out smoother, so give you a gradual throttle pull instead of just an on and off switch. It's still very rideable, but yeah, feels like it just gives you on and off. Gradually puts in the power when you pedal it, a little smoother than when you do it with the throttle. And I've messed around with start strength from 0 to 5, and it seems like they all still have the on-off throttle. It's not as jumpy as a geared hub motor would be, but it's definitely not the smoothest throttle. So you put it in pedal assist 1 or any other green, it's definitely putting out reduced power now. So I guess if you want to take it a little slower, you put it in the green modes. Yeah, it's putting out about 1,000 watts. I have it turned off now and I'm pedaling in its own power. You can probably pedal this thing up to about 6-7 miles an hour maybe. I would not want to pedal this thing for long. So we're going to pedal assist 2. I can see right now it's starting to taper off the power now around 40 miles an hour. I'm going to go up to 3. Now we get back to full power. It's flying. 45, 46. This thing really gets moving for such a little bike. I'm a 245-pound rider. I imagine this thing will be significantly faster with a lighter rider because it will freewheel up to 82 miles an hour. So, yeah, this thing gets up and goes. This means business. You want to be on the business end of the mini goat. I'm hoping they can open a software update at some point. I'm going to check later to see if there's one available to address the throttle, to make the throttle more linear instead of just on and off. That would be nice because this actually has a nice pull to the throttle. It's got a nice long pull, full twist throttle, but when it's like as soon as you hit the spot where it activates the throttle, it's just all on. So yeah, not the smoothest. See, look, I'm gonna go nice and slow and you look at the watt meter there and it just goes from 0 to 4,000. Way more stable on this type of terrain than I was expecting. These tires are nice and quality feeling. They're very thick. They definitely seem more like a motorcycle tire than an e-bike tire. All right, guys, time to do a brake test on the mini goat. Now these brakes are beefy. Man, this thing stops really well. Let me change the camera angle so maybe you can get a sense of what I'm talking about. This thing stops crazy good. These are some of the best brakes I've felt out of any e-bike. Granted, these do have a street tread on the tire, so they grab extra good on asphalt. I don't know how well I'd want to be testing my luck cramming on a handful of brakes in the gravel, but nevertheless, guys, the mini goat has got you covered with the brakes. These are some nice brakes. Well, we took the little side roads on the way out, but you know what? On the way back, I'm going to do what this bike is good for, and we're going to go fast. This is a 55 mile an hour speed limit here, 60 in parts. I'm just going to go blast right along this road the whole way back. Let's see how fast we get back there. So now it is 44.3 miles on the odometer. Let's see, 78% battery. Going 45 up the hill here. Guys, watch out for cows for the next 32 miles. I don't know about you, but I watch out for cows all the time. You feel the little rumble strips in the road. 49 miles an hour. Rumbling our way along here. 51. 52 going downhill, 53, 54. We're just flying right along. We're just maintaining 50 miles an hour here for a couple minutes. 4,300 watts consistently coming out of the battery. The battery's probably not too happy with me right about now. 73% now in the battery gauge. And we're just cooking right along. Pretty impressive. This thing is just consistently putting out 4,300 watts. 69% have not pedaled once this entire stretch back yet. Still putting out 4,300 watts. Speeds dipped to about 48 now. You got places to go, guys. The mini goat might be the bike for you. Now at about 46 miles an hour now, 4,200 watts. We're still making it happen. We're going slightly uphill now and into some wind. Going down to 74.9 volts under load, 64%. We're just burning through the battery, putting out consistent 4,000 watts. 46 miles an hour still. Whoa, back up to 48. 61%, 49 miles an hour, 60%. All right, I'm gonna slow down now because we've actually made it to where we need to go. Well, we just scorched back. It's full throttle the whole entire time. 60% on the battery now, 74.1 volts. We just did 9 miles straight, full throttle the entire time. Pretty much going about 50 average or so on the speedometer here. This thing cooks. This thing absolutely moves. And the nice thing about this bike is it's not like you have to do peak high speed. This thing cruises at high speed, where other bikes, like you have to get up there and it's kind of like you stay there for briefly. This thing just keeps going and going and going. Well, the motor is warm, but it's not hot. Oh yeah, it's got some heat to it for sure. So you guys have it. It's the mini goat. You know, some things I really like about this bike, for starters, this is fast. It's very smooth, feels extremely stable. I was skeptical about the smaller form factor, but once you get out and ride this thing, guys, this thing feels rock solid. I was able to take it over a variety of terrain. However, I wouldn't take this on any significant off-road. And with the 50 amp hour version, you're gonna have plenty of range. Some things I'm not too big on with this, the pedals are, you know, they're kind of a gimmick. They're really there just for show. The front fender can make some noise, and the throttle, I hope they change the throttle tuning on a future update. I checked if there was an update, and as of now, there is not. But overall, guys, this is a really nice bike. This bike is a blast. This is a certified ripper. And if you're interested in purchasing one, you can use the link in the description of this video. Coupon code SHOOTTHESHIT to save yourself 5% off that order. And as always, guys, if you have any questions, leave it in the comment. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and probably catch you in the next one or something. Peace.